What's the sluttiest thing you've done? I was bartending and told an older, not very attractive woman I'd go home with her if she tipped me well. I was 22. She was easily in her mid to late 40s and she tipped me and the other bartender $200. I did as promised. Met a guy on Tinder and invited him over 20 minutes later. He ended up leaving mid-6 after admitting he had a girlfriend. Whoops. Met a chick from back in the AOL days at a public park. Was ducking her in the ass. I mean dropping back a foot. Ramming it and she's loving it. It was around dusk and off in the distance I notice a man about 30-40 yards away jacking it. So I stop. She starts asking why I stopped and reaching back trying to pull me back in and I'm like there's some dude watching and she goes it's okay. It's my husband he likes to watch. Don't stop. I finished. Went to a strip club with a couple friends on one of their 21st birthdays. I am getting a lap dance, which turned into 3 songs and I mentioned something along the lines of I'm broke and I don't think I can get any more dances. She said just pay me whatever you can or something to that effect. 1 or 2 songs later she says I really want to duck you. I replied I really want to duck you too. She reaches into my basketball shorts. Yeah, I'm a classy gentleman club attendee. Pulls out my D, moves her panties to the side and slides me inside her. I had been drinking, but I was not drunk. Immediately following the thought of how good that felt were thoughts of being inside of a stripper without a condom. Also the fact that we really were not very hidden at all. This was on a couch along a back wall. It was very dark, but still. People were walking past occasionally and sitting nearby. It was pretty uncomfortable, but a huge turn on at the same time. I got tested the following Monday and again a year later because they said it might be too early to test for some things. For a few weeks, every time I peed, any sort of abnormality would freak me out. Edit. Thanks for the gold. I'm glad my sluttiness could bring some joy to all you slut lovers. In college I was making out with a girl who I was friends with on the way back from the bar to her place, and I was planning on hooking up with her that night. Back at her house there are about 10 of us hanging out and I'm sitting on the couch with my arm around her shoulders. I get a text from one of the other girls who lives there and who had gone to her computer to order Jimmy John's for everyone that says come upstairs. So I did. I walk into her room. She closes her laptop and says we have 15 minutes before Jimmy John's gets here. I said okay and we had 6. Sorry, Katie. I once left 2 buttons unbuttoned at the top of my shirt instead of just the regular one. Just remember, the people commenting are not as hot as you think. Had sex with a girl after knowing her for only 15 minutes. She even gave me a fake name. Did anal sex with a girl I met on Adult Friend Finder. Pics did not match. Still smashed anyway. My brain said abort, but my whiner said stay. 3/10 would not recommend. On a road trip matched with a girl on Tinder. Stopped by her place and banged it out while my buddy waited in the car. Had sex with 2 of my exes on the same day and went home with someone else. When I was in college, I worked at a day spa and did massage. As a guy, I only massaged women, but there was nothing I wouldn't do for a nice tip. Anything a woman asked me to do or directed my hand to do, I did. Anyway, a customer asked about me making a house call and offered me cash to make it. She was 60 plus and I was 20. The slutty part was that she offered me $30. So I had sex with a grandma for $30. Not my finest moment. Succeeded at triple threat challenge. 3 dates in 1 night with 6. I was expecting failure. Would never do again. The amount of anxiety was not cool. At age 11, I got to 3rd base with the 16-year-old babysitter. Told my wife the story as an adult and she was horrified that I was used by someone like that. 11-year-old me was ducking stoked. Still don't know how to feel about it. Hosted a swingers party with 6 couples. Had sex with every woman at the party. 19-year-old me pulled the 40-ish-year-old player coach of the local women's football, soccer team purely because she had on a pair of dark red leather trousers. After a fairly long session with my hands practically glued to her ass, she asked me to come back to hers. I bluntly told her I'd only do that if she'd sit on my face whilst wearing them. She agreed. And back to hers. Had sex a couple of times and each time she brought me back to attention by sitting on my face. Still see her and her now husband around town fairly regularly. One time as I was picking up my food from the drive-thru, the wind blew something in my eye and I accidentally winked at the cashier. Had sex with 7 guys at once at a bathhouse. You can't compete with gays on this. Had a hookup with a girl from a pre-Facebook social media site. Later that same day I had a threesome planned with one of my best friends and a girlfriend that really wanted to get dreamed by 2 dudes. I felt really slutty. I blew a dude for a bootleg DVD of Benjamin Button. I gave the panties I was wearing to some dudes who asked for them at a club. They said they were having a bachelor party, like right in the middle of the dance floor. My sister said sorry, wearing pants I can't. You're wearing a skirt. Give them yours. So I shrugged and dropped trow. Then she's like holy it balls I thought you'd go to the bathroom to take them off. For 5 minutes I was everyone's slutty hero. This probably also doubles as a life pro tip. What I do when the bartender cuts me off for being too drunk or running out of money is I camp out in the bathroom and give blowjobs for drinks. I blow a guy and he is supposed to get me a drink. Granted only usually a third of them follow through but I still get a lot of drinks. My wife said we'd have a sex if I did the dishes. Once let a hot girl climb onto my shoulders at a concert. She said I was a good friend for doing that. Met my wife on an extreme porn site. Edit. Since multiple people asked. No, it wasn't FetLife. It was a porn site. Specifically a fetishized misogyny erotica caption blog I used to run. We met because she was a fan. I had sex in a car. In the high school parking lot. When I was an adult. We threw the used condom on the ground afterwards. I still feel guilty about that. Who wants to find a used condom when they get out of their car to go to school? Sitting alone in a McDonald's at 3 AM in the morning because that's the kind of lonely guy I was. In comes a party chick in a tight mini dress and slutty makeup. Walking barefoot with heels in her hands. She comes up and asks if I had any chicken nuggets. I reply no but I'll buy her some if she wants. 30 minutes later we're out back and she's got my D in her mouth. Stopping occasionally to eat a chicken nugget. Ever had a blowjob from a girl eating chicken nuggets? Feels weird man. Good, but weird. My first time ever seeing boobs was as a 14-year-old when my friend's 18-year-old hookup asked me to put my hands on them. We then awkwardly made out while he watched. 3 guys in one night on New Year's Eve after I left my long-term ex on Christmas Eve. One of them had a girlfriend. Yeah. Post-breakup sex doesn't fix anything or feel good. I had a girlfriend who was into going out and finding another girl to go with us. One night we were in the city and met a pretty blonde who was down for it. Seeing how were we away though, we hoped over to a nearby, rather glitzy hotel. As I was checking in, the woman at the counter asked will there be 3 people in the room? I follow her eyes back to the 2 women waiting here in lobby and said, unless we want to make it 4. She laughed nervously and showed up at the room at about 1 AM. When I was working at Renaissance Fair, F24, 18 back then, I had to flirt a lot to make sales. I was flirting with this lady, 25ish, and she said she would buy something from me for a kiss. I leaned over the counter and kissed her. She then bought $600 worth of pewter. Each thing was $150 to $300 from me. Went to a Tinder date and spent the night at his place. On the first date, luckily he didn't kill or abuse me, and we're coming up on 1 year in about a month. I went on Reddit and asked questions and jerked off to the responses. I also have my friends post questions and then I watch them jerk off. Hi OP. I'm mildly horrified about the way we used to talk to each other online. Pre about 1995. That was before anyone really realized that anything you put online might be forever. Had a threesome with my now husband and an internet friend 3 hours into meeting said friend for the first time. Went abroad, matched a guy from Tinder, invited him to my Airbnb and slept with him all in the same day. Next day did the same thing with another Tinder match. The day after that, slept with the first guy again. It was a good trip. Banged a girl whose name I didn't know. I've been a civilian. I've enlisted. And I've been a federal worker. I just wanted to see how many different ways the government could duck me. After I left my husband, I was struggling to get by financially, and an older man in his 60s offered me $300 to have a sex with him. Despite a nearly 38-year difference in age, he was pretty handsome and I hadn't had sex in months, so I agreed. The sex was amazing and I could afford rent that month. My family, including my ex, went on a driving trip to a city that was like 3 hours away. My Catholic family went to see mass at this giant touristy church, and my ex and I decided to go wait in his car in the church parking lot. Out of boredom, we decided to do it doggy style on the back seats while it poured rain outside. My family showed up 5 minutes later. Edit. My ex had his own car. My family and I, including my ex, went on a trip. He was in no way related me considering he was white and I'm Hispanic. Was on an internship in Germany and went to a rural part north of Munich that a female friend invited me to. It was a barn festival with about 100 locals, including the girl that brought me, myself and a random cute blonde Austrian girl. Names get tossed around. I forget all of them. While completely wasted on wheat beer, I walked with the Austrian girl around the perimeter of town. Made it about 2 blocks before making out with her in some random person's driveway. This soon progressed to the point where I was up, exploring the area between her thighs with both our pants around our ankles, trying to get it on in the middle of a stone driveway. You'd think it would have a happy ending, but like a sitcom, the owners pulled in the driveway just as we were about to perform and honked their horn. I didn't speak German. They didn't speak English. We awkwardly put our clothes on and wandered off, where I promptly threw up behind a van. Then I lost her and never saw her again or even remembered her name to ask about her. Shame, because we really hit it off before the alcohol hit me. Going outside to get the mail while lazily dressed in only my bra and panties. Stolen housemate's Tinder date. Got drunk and slept with her. Only time I've regretted sleeping with someone. On holiday in the Philippines, and a bartender tattoo artist said he gave great massages. My friend and I went up to his room. She got one first, then went to get a drink downstairs as mine started. Ended up getting a happy ending. Drunk, cried all the way home asking my friend to forgive my slutty behavior. IA. Both of these are not me. Had a college roommate that would pull some butchish women. Not my type. But it got to the point that once he came home with a girl, I knew what was gonna happen and head out to the couch. One time he comes to the couch and whispers to me, "Don't worry man, we aren't gonna do anything, you can come back into the room," and I come, and eventually we had a bunk bed where I was the top. And it was very obvious that he just straight lied to me and stuff went down. He eventually kept apologizing to me about it weeks after, and I was always like, "It's fine, let's not talk about it." Another college friend was B. But as he got more drunk, he leaned more towards the gay side. At a party, he came to the party with a girl, but eventually got drunk, was like getting blown or something in the bathroom, and then left the party with a guy. Felt a bit bad for the girl, but she ended up sleeping with some other person after the party as well. I ducked a lovely lady in the ass raw and busted a nice ass nut inside her ass. Had sex with 3 different girls in 24 hours. Dressed as a girl and sold my ass to a gay man for rent money. Happened several times. Had sexual activity with 4 different friends in a 5-day run. One person a gay friend on 2 different days that week. I was single at the time. XGF gave me 9 BJs in about a 7-hour period. I was sore for 2 weeks. I hook on the side, trying to pay down a mountain of debt. But it's not my main job. Edit. Great, now 500 people know I hook when I figured this would get buried deeper than my dignity. University halls. Girl on the same floor has a friend come to visit. A big group of us go out. Me and her friend end up back in my room after about 2 hours. We duck. She cries because she's cheated on her boyfriend. We duck again. She cries again. Everyone comes back. She goes off with her friend. Reappears 20 minutes later and has clearly been crying. 6 AM she knocks on my door again to duck. I say I don't want to because of the crying. She insists she really wants to do it and won't cry. We duck. She cries. The next time she visited, I went away for a few days. My record is 10 guys in one day. I was traveling alone, and that particular day the weather was really itty and I didn't feel like going out. Praise Grindr. told this story before on a somewhat similar post, but I'll make this as short and sweet as possible. One time, on New Year's, I slept with this guy who pretty much had no idea what TF he was doing. I didn't come once and he wanted to go for a second round. I cleaned myself up after that fiasco and Ubered home. I had been texting my FWB most of the day too, and after getting home and showering, he asked to meet up at a motel down the street from my house. Me, being me, I agreed and we met up. We ducked all night, and I got the best day of my life. Totally made up for what had happened earlier. Morning 6 was great too, and 20 minutes before work 6 was just as good. Edit. Slept with 2 guys in the span of 3 hours. Didn't tell either of them, who would have anyways. Set up a gangbang for my friend's birthday. Unfortunately he got sick right before, so it would have been no fun for anyone. But everyone was already there, and it would have been pretty rude to ask them all to leave. So let a guy I've known for about 20 minutes lick my asshole. When I was in high school I slept with 4 guys who were all brothers within a month or so. I would routinely hang out with one of them. The last time it slept with one he said, "So, heard you slept with my brothers." Never again. They have a sister I never got with, unfortunately. I once slept with a girl that I wasn't really that into because I was out of cigarettes and knew she both had cigarettes and loved smoking after 6. I ducked 6 co-workers. 4 were at the same time. Was with my boyfriend at a bar. He was talking to 2 guys who I thought were pretty cute. One of them called me hot. My boyfriend told them my pussy was the prettiest part about me, and I was super tight too. One thing led to another and they were paying my boyfriend $20 each to see just how tight I was. So we went to a booth, and each guy got to pull my skirt up, pull my panties to the side, and put their fingers in me. Didn't even really hit me until we were walking home just how slutty it was to have 2 complete strangers finger me in public. For money. I was at a bar one night and met 2 ladies, who turned out to be cousins. No relation to me. For clarity's sake. Cousin number 1 pulls me outside of the bar to start making out and starts attempting to give me a hickey. Yes, I know that is super trashy. Cousin number 2 comes out, breaks it up, and tells me I need to stop with number 1 because she is hotter and is way better in bed. We all continue drinking for another hour and I end up taking cousin number 2 to a nearby hotel for the nightcap. In the morning, I had to drop her back off at number 1's house to get her car. As number 2 drives off, number 1 waves at me from the front door to come in. After an awkward hello, she told me she wasn't going to lose to her cousin, and starts taking off her clothes. I went through with it, and tell number 1 she was better than her cousin even though she wasn't. She ended up giving me that hickey that I did not want and no band-aid was large enough to cover up my shame. I am man. I am whore. I ducked my stalker's mom. Edit. I decided to put the follow-up things here for the new people who don't want to go digging. My stalker used to be FWB with me, and I cut it off because she was getting kinda crazy. Like showing up at my job and trying to follow me home while messaging me constantly about everything she's done for me and how I must be with some worthless whore or something. Crazy. The mom knew about the stalking and actually sought me out to try and figure this out because she was telling her batted things about me. We got to drinking and, well, she can actually deep throat. The morning after was awkward to say the least, but goddamn the catharsis of it all. I actually hooked up with the mom more than once. Partially because she knew what she was doing and partially because duck you crazy girl. Not my proudest moment really. People hear this story and think it's a brag. It's not. The only reason I was such a hoe back then was self-esteem issues and this was honestly kind of a low point for me. Edit. Holy it guys. This post exploded. I'm used to giving damned advice. Not this. Let me see if I can answer some of the more common questions I've seen. Why did you do it? Because I was 19. It's a despicable age, and I'm not one to turn off the charm. At least I wasn't then. Put yourself in my shoes. I was young, drunk and horny. Some people get kids out of that. I got this story. Are you either of them hot? Matter of opinion. I thought they were both attractive, and I think I'm maybe above average in appearance but I'm no Adonis. Why did you and the mom continue ducking? Because we were both pretty good at it. There wasn't anything crazy or Machiavellian happening there. She told me her ex made her feel trapped and abused and I blanketed her insecurities with semen. What happened when the stalker found out? How does the story end? It ends rather unceremoniously, as most things do. We decided we had done this enough and moved on. To my knowledge, the stalker girl never found out and stopped cold turkey. Her mother told me that she'd found someone. I'm happy for her. Worried about who she found though. Are you a man or a woman? Why do you refer to yourself as a hoe if you're a man? Sluttiness is a state of being, not a gender. I am a man. Get your it together, Reddit. I feel bad for her. You're mean and she was nice. No, she ducking wasn't. Those who pity her in the situation in the sense that she was in love with me and I was the one being reclusive to her are either projecting their own past drama, never had a stalker, or both. I stopped being FWB with her not because she was clingy. I've dealt with clingy. My wife is clingy. Stalker was terrifying. She would cycle between death threats and poetic adoration in the same sentence. She was unstable. Near the end she was seeking out my friends and sending me pictures of them at work. Girl was nuts. I hope this cleared things up for you. I'm not some sex god. I'm a happily married man with a bald head and a young face. I'm no bro. I'm just a guy who could fly under the radar. TL. Doctor, I ducked my stalker's mom. That's the story.